Over the past few years, equity work has become more visible on campuses, including at the University of Waterloo. I have personally facilitated trainings around implicit bias, anti-racism, around concepts of intro to equity. And at some point, we got to stop and ask, are we making real change? That's what this episode is all about. To pause, to think, and to ask the question, are we actually making change, or are we getting better at checking off boxes? I'm joined today by Dr. Christopher Taylor. I'm so excited about today's conversation.
Thank you.
And Dr. Christopher Taylor is the AVP, the Associate Vice President of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Anti-Racism here at the University of Waterloo. I'm looking forward to talking openly about the limitations of trainings, the importance of accountability, and us shifting from performative gestures to structural change. And so this is Rethinking Equity, the conversations we need to have. Dr. Taylor.
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's an honor.
Appreciate the invitation, Monique. Thank you very much.
Listen, I am looking forward to this conversation, and I'm hoping that.
Yeah, no, it'll be great. It'll be a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Okay, so listen,
yes,
when I think about you, when I think about your leadership, I think to myself, you are a visionary. The word visionary comes to mind. Yes, seriously.
Oh,
because you think big picture. You've got big plans, big goals, big ideas. But what I think is fascinating is you stay up here, but yet you've got boots on the ground. And I want to ask, what influences your pedagogy, how you do what you do?
For the first question, that's a very deep but perfect question, because I find a lot of times people don't really ask senior administrators, why do they do this? For a lot of folks, they come into these roles, they've been professors for 10, 15, 20 years, and then they get tapped on the shoulder and say, hey, you want to ride out to your retirement 5, 10 years in a particular role.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's very important for me to ground first how I came into this role.
Yes. Okay.
And not just my motivations. So a lot of folks don't know, and I'm glad this is going on these channels here, that I used to do this work in government. I had a whole career. Black don't crack. So, I tell my students all the time, I'm somewhere between the ages of 25 and 65. But I had a whole career in this work.
Yeah.
I worked in the Ministry of Labor, the Deputy Administrator Office. I was in policy. I worked in Indigenous Justice Division. I worked in corrections. I worked in Ministry of the Attorney General. I've been in these spaces before. Right. And I wanted to leave that. I want to come to Waterloo to teach. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. And as you know very well, Monique, there's a certain profound feeling of, I don't want to say accomplishment, but of fullness, of wholeness, of looking at young minds, not to say young people, but young minds, and being able to engage in particular conversations that you just can't do in regular spaces. So I came here in 2018 to teach. Yeah. I left government, I left administration. And to be very honest, I did not want to come back in this space. I didn't.
You said come back.
Meaning into the equity.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Anti-racism, because that's what I was doing at the Ministry of the Attorney General.
Okay.
I wasn't what we called at the time a diversity coordinator. Okay. So intro to equity, unconscious bias, the IAT, I've done all. When it comes to policy reviews and policy revisions, pretty well every single role in this office, I've done.
Yeah.
Fantastic roles. But for me, it was like, what's next?
Yeah, yeah.
So the reason why I got back in this role is because, unfortunately, the murder of a Black man.
Right.
Like, I'm profiting from Black death. It's hard to admit that, but it's the truth. And this comes full circle to when you're mentioning about me being a visionary. Thank you for the record. It's because I'm not here for a particular thing. I'm not here to build my career. I'm not here to a next step in another. I know this is a dead end.
Right.
In the EDI, DEI space in the mid 2020s, you're lucky to be employed. I know that. For me, it's to say, look, I was given an opportunity to do something. Knowing the challenges of doing that, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna push as far as I can. And so that's what really motivates me, that I'm here in this space, why not? Why not do it?
Yeah. You've been here since 2018, you mentioned, right? I've personally seen you make some really big changes, which is amazing. I want you to talk to me a little bit about what you think perhaps people might think about when the idea of equity office comes to mind, right? Like what do you think folks are actually thinking versus what you wish and hope that they understood instead?
I think it comes in waves. I think in 2021, when this office came to be, the EDIRO, so Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, Anti-Racism Office, I think a lot of people saw this as progress. You put a Black person, particularly a Black man with beard and dreadlocks and chains and Jordans and jeans and hoodies. We're doing something.
Yes.
We're making this culture change. And then it became, okay, he's actually doing stuff, right? He's just not this person here to make everybody look good, to check a box, and a quote unquote equity box.
Yeah.
So being in that space of change, I think people need to see me more than a quote unquote token. I use that word very carefully here. I'm not just here because I'm Black, right? And I think a lot of people in 2021 like, oh, you're Black, you can do this. You look at my CV,
right?
I've done this. I've done this in a professional capacity. I've done this in an academic capacity, and I've done this in academia. How many folks who are in senior administrative roles, their PhDs and their scholarship actually relate directly to that? My PhD is in history with a specialization in migration and ethnic relations.
Wow. Okay.
This is what I do.
Right.
This is what I've done.
Yeah.
I've done it in systems. I've done it in academic systems. I've done it in institutionals. I've done it.
What would you say the deeper purpose of the office is besides the trainings and maybe responding to folks who are in crisis? What is the deeper purpose of the office?
We belong.
Who's we?
I'm going to use a term, non-conformative bodies belong. That you could see a person in a woman in a hijab, you could see someone who is non-binary, you could see a Black person, you could see someone who happens to use an accessibility device, that we belong not just as quote unquote equal partners, but we are integral to the functioning of this institution. That's what I need people to see. And you don't have to wear a suit and tie to do it. You don't have to fit a particular model, but you can reflect the student body and relate to them, look like them, and do the job of a senior administrator. That's what I need people to see.
Would you say that's what belonging looks like? You talk about representation, right? And you talk about doing the role as an AVP. Like, what does belonging look like for, let's just highlight Black identifying students, staff, and faculty? What does belonging look like?
That's a very good question. I think belonging looks very different for a lot of people. For some folks, belonging literally means I want to be able to wear a suit and tie and be respected as someone wearing a suit and tie, which is fair. Yeah. I mean, we look at our office, you have folks, business, like not just business casual, come in business, fantastic. And for me, belonging is come as you are, however, be quote unquote professional in that space. Okay. And I define professionalism as this: respectful. Treat everyone with respect. I can wear a tie and a suit and some $500, leather Clarks, shoes, whatever, and treat my staff and my colleagues with the utmost disrespect. That's not being professional.
That's right.
Or I could be wearing Jordans and jeans and say good morning to everyone. Actually listen to what people say. Not just listen and put it in one ear out the next. Listen to their concerns, speak to them as human beings, and treat everyone as I would like to be treated. Moreover, as they want to be treated. That's how I define that professionalism. Yeah. And a lot of people get that lost. They think professional means coming into the office 9 to 5, having a corner office, you know what I mean? Having an assistant, barking orders. Yeah. Sometimes it's literally sitting down with your staff for an hour and saying, how are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up, come as you are, because I think about you. A typical day in the office for Christopher, or sorry, Dr. Taylor, pardon me. A typical day, you are wearing Jordans.
Yeah.
And I love that because I think even in your shoes, it makes you relatable, right? You've got a high profile position, and yet even in your attire, you're relatable to the everyday person, right? The staff members, the faculty, the students. I want to ask, because you are sitting, since you're so relatable, you're sitting in a very high, prominent, important role. And I want to know, what are the questions about power that you feel we're still afraid to ask?
So I'm going to come back to the power thing quickly.
Okay.
The Jordans, for anybody who knows about Jordans, I mean, there's a certain level of privilege and class privilege.
That is true. That is true.
Jordans ain't no $50 shoes, man.
Yes.
So, and I say this because for me, right, because what people will look at, I know Jordans isn't a question, but this is actually important for us to touch. People look at you wearing running shoes. I'm like, you know how much a pair of Jordans costs? You know the whole Jordan culture? You might be going wearing a pair of Aldo $99.99 shoes and thinking you're top of top.
Yeah.
But you understand what this represents, particularly to be Black in white spaces rocking Jordans.
Yeah. Is there an intentionality there?
1,000%.
Okay, what's
A, I can afford them.
Okay.
I can afford them.
Yeah.
But B, I am going to challenge your particular norms with a norm that is typically not seen in boardrooms. Because you could walk down the street, somebody look at your Jordan and be like, yo, I know this guy don't play.
Yeah.
But in another space, you'd be like, yo, why are you wearing running shoes? You might as well be wearing, a pair of Asics.
That's a good
or
point.
New Balances.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's a whole cultural shift that we're trying to shift in here.
Yeah.
So going back to the question of power.
Yeah.
And you ask, like, how do I see power and how I define power?
Yeah.
There needs to be much more honesty around the conversation of power.
Okay.
All right. And let's tie into the Jordans first. I keep looking down because I'm looking at my Jordans. For the record, I'm wearing a pair of winterized Jordan 6 rings right now. You can keep this in, don't cut this out.
Yeah.
And throughout my space in this work of equity and anti-racism, I've had to have some honest introspection about me, right? Because I can say, you know what, I'm a Black man, I'm powerless, so on and so forth. This is what's happened to Black men. We want to come back to, I was employed because a Black man was murdered. That's factually correct.
Yeah.
But the challenges that a lot of Black communities have in Kitchener-Waterloo, in the GTA, in Canada, North America, is tied around class and socioeconomics. The fact that I can wake up in the morning and I'm well paid in this role and buy a pair of Jordans and not concerned about eating.
Yeah.
That's a form of interpersonal, that's a form of personal power that I have. The fact that I can go to the grocery store, I don't care how much milk costs.
Right.
I don't care how much eggs cost.
Yeah.
That makes me a part of the quote unquote intelligista, right? That makes me a part of a class privilege that a lot of Black folks, not all, a lot of Black folks, particularly in the GTA and in KW, don't have.
Yeah.
So for me, I need to recognize that I might see myself as that Jordan wearing person in a boardroom, but to the outside looking in, how am I any different? How am I any different to that kid that's trying to get something to eat? You know what I mean? Who's trying to graduate high school.
Yeah.
So when we need to understand power, we need to understand power through class prisms, through intersectional identities, and not just in one particular binary. Because if I'm getting a monthly or a bi-weekly paycheck, and I don't need to worry about where money's coming from, that's a form of power.
Absolutely.
And the tricky part about that is I can't sit in an equity office and not understand how I can use that power to oppress my own people or support my own people.
Okay, so make that tangible, because that's big.
Yeah.
Make that tangible, unpack that. Like, what does that mean?
For instance, I can come in here in this office and be like, look, I work at the University of Waterloo.
Yeah.
At U15, you need 95, 99% to get in.
Okay.
And my sole focus is to bring in those top elite people into this. Or I can say, wait a second, I work at the University of Waterloo, which is an anchor institution in Waterloo region. Employs lots of folks in Waterloo region. Has ties to lots of different pieces. And I can go down the street in Kitchener, down the street in Waterloo, and say, hey, you may not be going to University of Waterloo, but doesn't stop me from having a film festival or helping you read.
Right.
Or looking at food insecurity.
Yeah.
Or looking at the justice system. These are folks that will never touch or may never touch this campus.
Right.
But because of the seat that I sit in and the networks that I have, I can use that to support people.
Yeah.
It might not benefit my tenure file.
Yeah.
It might not benefit this institution in a particular way, but I can leverage.
Yeah.
I can leverage my seat because I have access. Yeah. And to support folks that honestly could care less about the University of Waterloo.
Would you say that that is a personal responsibility that you hold for yourself? Would you say that that's a collective responsibility you feel maybe Black identifying folks should hold as a community?
And I think that's the hard part, right? Because, and this is taking me years to, again, introspection, unpack. I can say this because of where I sit. I can say this because I have tenure. I am an associate vice president.
Yeah.
I eat well. Ray tay tay tay. Is that a real word? Ray tay tay tay?
I don't know how to spell it, so. But I understand
for the closed caption, you got to figure out Ray tay tay tay.
Yeah.
But I have, and I pause on this because some people might interpret this or misinterpret this to say, well, you have all this quote unquote privilege. I'm using that word very carefully here. Yeah. You have this privilege because there's a lot of stuff you don't need to worry about.
Yeah.
So your collective Black identity or your individual Black identity can focus on particular programs for this institution or reading and writing. But there's a lot of Black folk who could care less. They're like, look, rent costs X, Y, Z. I'm just going from paycheck to paycheck.
It's not the priority right now.
That's not the priority.
Yeah.
So for me, it's we sit in a space to say, yes, you know, it could be individual purpose or a collective purpose, but what is a collective? Do we all have the same motivations?
Okay.
And my argument is we don't, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because if I'm saying, yo, I need everybody to donate X dollars so we can send Black kids to Nigeria or Ghana or Barbados, and folks are like, hold up. I'm hungry. What's that have to do with anything? I'm like, well, we're challenging the system. We're doing this, we're doing that. Oh, you know, gotta vote, da-da-da-da-da. But people are like, look, my kid is about to get expelled because
100%.
somebody called them the N-word and they fought them.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch the bus.
Yeah.
And the bus costs too much money. What are you gonna do about that? What are you gonna do about food insecurity?
Yeah.
So it's kind of shift that mentality that we're not necessarily all have the immediate focus.
Right. Yeah. It's to your point, like it's hard to negotiate. And I think that as we go through different seasons of life, how we think about personal responsibility, collective responsibility, how we think about some of these concepts, it changes and evolves.
Look,
right?
Keeping it real, right?
Yeah.
I love students.
Yeah. I know.
Love students,
yeah.
Right?
They're great.
And I love coming for first year students. Love it. First year students be like, man, you know, F the system, da-da-da-da-da, you know, destroy capitalism. Yeah. And I'm like, they're like, I never forget, I had a student one time come to me and say, how do we start a revolution? I was like,
was this the first year?
This was maybe first or second year.
I was going to say,
yeah, revolution.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you know, you should read these books.
Yeah, right? Great.
And it makes me laugh because, and I'm not talking about Black, I'm just talking students in general.
Yeah.
And then they come in their last year, can you write me a reference letter for a job? It was
that.
because OSAP is real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you talk about seasons of life, and for me, as a quote unquote historian, I have a lot of grace for people who say they sold out. And people are like, oh, this person sold out or this group sold out. You hear a lot, particularly the people who came in the 60s and the 70s, that they had to quote unquote act white or whatever. And I'm like, you realize what they had to face coming in the 60s and 70s to just stay employed?
Yeah.
You realize they could not get a job with dreadlocks and a beard and earrings and chains and Jordans. You know, they had to conform. And so when we talk about seasons of life, when you have different responsibilities, when you got mortgage, rent, kids, you just can't say F the system, let's start a revolution, when you might be unemployed. And then if you're unemployed, how are your kids eating? Where are you gonna live? So when we talk about the seasons of life, I think, and this is where I pause for a lot of times, I'm like, look, if somebody says I'm not about that life, I'm like, cool.
You get it. Yeah, you get it.
I can roll like that because I got tenure.
Yes.
Like I have a whole separate plan that I'll never say on camera. I'm not gonna tell nobody my separate plan. That's why I'm looking around the camera right now. That there's certain buttons I can push. Right? But I'll never expect somebody else to do that because I don't know what their personal lives are. And as you know, in my work, I don't ask nobody their personal life. I just want people to be honest about why they're here. If it's to get paid, cool.
That's the empathy lens.
That's it. Yes.
So you referenced you used the word historian to describe you. And so I want to ask you, why is history so important to you and why is it important to the work that you do?
Look, let me tell you something right now, right? Sorry. Let me speak.
We're talking. Yeah.
Everybody feels they need to reinvent the wheel. Okay. Everyone feels, I have this brand new idea about how to change the system.
Yes. Or like, change the world.
Change the world. Yeah. Like, you know, people have been, especially when it comes to confronting anti-Black racism, people have been talking about this literally since 1444. And I use 1444 because that was a moment that the first, what we call Black people now, were removed from the African continent as a part of what we now know as the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
So that's nearly 600 years that people have been looking at this this revolution, this change of challenging systems. And so I told people all the time, all the answers are in the books. There's nothing new.
That's good.
You can go and read Fanon talk about revolution. You could read, Marianne Shad Carey. You could read Martin Delaney. You could read Marcus Garvey. What I'm trying to do now is no different than Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
In these spaces, you could talk about Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, lots of different folks. They've all done it.
Yeah.
The context and the medium may have changed. There was no Twitter or X or Snapchat or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's all the same thing. So my whole thing is the answers are there. Just read them, apply them to your particular situation, and you can move forward. So even in this work, folks might be like, and I appreciate you calling me a visionary. I'm just looking at other people's visions. I'm like, hey, what did you do? That worked.
Yeah.
What did you do that didn't work?
Yeah.
And my thing, a big thing that I do as well is, and I use a term, the Santa Clausification. So for example, you think of somebody like Mandela or Dr. King Jr. White people love them names. Mandela was in prison for 27 years and he didn't hate white people. I'm like, okay, cool. Or Dr. King Jr. Hold hands, little white girls, hold hands, little Black boys, ray-tay-tay-tay-tay.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, because that creates a nice, clean narrative of these Black people that, had all these injustices. Dr. King Jr. killed by a, white man. Yeah. Mandela imprisoned by white systems. Yeah. But they were all about that whole DEI, hold hands. And I'm like, time out, pause. Skirks.
Yeah.
Read A Long Walk to Freedom. Right?
Okay.
Read anything written by Dr. King, right? Like Cornel West is a fantastic book around radical love. Fantastic book on that. Yes, they believed in what they were doing. Yeah. But them challenging systems. Mandela used state violence or violence against the state to make change. He was called a terrorist to make change. Dr. King Jr. came out and said, the people you need to fear most, it's not the KKK. It's people like me working in systems that want to maintain the system. Yeah. They'll bring different looking people in, but they want to maintain that justice system, the education system, all that. Those are the true problems. So now I come in here and say, hey, if we're going to have a program that targets policies, we're going to have a program not just about bringing dark faces in, but different mentalities. You want to talk about diversity, it's not representation, it's diversity of thought. It's people who think differently, people with different culture.
Yeah.
If we're going to use their tools against them and their forms of oppression against them, isn't that learning from Mandela? Oh, but y'all love Mandela, no? You don't like Malcolm.
Yeah.
You love Mandela and Dr. King Jr.
Yeah.
You may not know Fred Hampton, but this brother came out here and said, look, this brother's 21 years old.
Yeah.
21. But even he knew in order to make change, it's a class consciousness. It wasn't just black folks that need to make this change. He needs to look at other oppressed groups to come together.
Right.
So if you look at my office, our office is full of different looking folks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to their struggles. And how can we come collectively together and understand that we're not just quote unquote against a white man, we are against an oppressive system. And how can we all come together? I don't care what community you belong to, we're all fighting the same fight.
Yeah.
So how, and particularly in your role, how do we educate people to understand, and not too much to get into Marxist theories here, how do we shift away from this false consciousness of race to a class consciousness?
Because you keep going back to this idea of class.
100%.
Would you say, or what would you say rather, is the mindset shift? Or would you say that that's what needs to change, the mindset shift, particularly as it relates to this institution? What's needed right now?
Look, this institution right now will pull in lots of different looking people as long as they get 99%. If you get 99%, you can pay X dollars in tuition. Cool.
What's 99%?
99% average.
Oh, got it.
From high school.
Yeah.
You get 99% average in high school.
Yeah.
Look, you walk around this campus.
Yes.
You go to MC, you go to engineering. You're not seeing, a whole body of white kids.
No.
Everyone looks different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then, if we're fundamentally understanding our office, if our office, the EDI, equity, diversity office, is bringing in diversity.
Right.
Check.
Yeah.
We're done. So why do we still have a problem? Because we're still feeding into this mentality that you need to succeed in a neoliberal, in a Eurocentric, in a white system. I mean, you go on recruitment trips international, it's like, hey, did you go through a British system or an American system? Did you do the IB program? All the things that still privilege Eurocentric learnings.
Yeah.
You get here, dope, awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have Canadian dollars? Can you afford 100K? Come on in.
Yeah.
We're still reinforcing this class-based idea. And again, this comes back to Fanon. We talk about particularly neocolonialism, right? And this is why I say history and learning is very important.
Yeah.
This neocolonial mentality that, yes, you can kick out the overseers, you can kick out the oppressor, but if you're just replacing them with darker skinned people with the same mentality that still want to uphold the same system, you are still creating those white moderates that Dr. King Jr. says is a problem. So if I sit in this seat right now as Christopher Taylor's AVP with a PhD, I rhymed, with a PhD, AVP with a PhD.
Come on, come on.
I come here, AVP with a PhD from Western University. You see what I just did there?
Yes, I did. Look at that, you just rhyming.
If I do all those things, I check all the boxes of PWI, of succeeding in whiteness. And then I just perpetuate that whiteness, say, everybody in my office, you also had to have a degree. You also have to have a PhD. And we're only going to support people with degrees and PhDs. How many better?
Yeah. What then? Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. And something that you said earlier on had me, I'm remembering something that my professor had said when I was in grad school. She had said, Monique, keep reading. We were talking about history earlier on, right? Like nothing's new. Nothing's new. The strategy doesn't have to necessarily be new either, right? So she said, Monique, keep reading, right? And history informs the present. So keep reading to understand where we're at,
100%.
right? And then, of course, the answers to your point, like you're pulling from strategies that have always been used, right? So I think that's really key. What role does education play in transformation?
Look, man, let me tell you. First of all, we need to reconfigure how we understand education. Because I'll tell you straight up, when we talk about what I focus on, blackness, black identity, change, revolution, whatever you want to call it. I didn't learn any of this from kindergarten to grade 12.
No.
Nor did I really learn any of this in my undergrad.
I was going to say that. Yeah, no, not at all.
This is when I had the privilege of studying on my own.
Yes.
To learn
what you wanted to
what
learn.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to go work. I didn't have to go pay off a whole pile of debt.
Yeah.
I could sit there and be like, hey, I'm going to learn about myself.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And that shifted my understanding of education. Because typically we think of education as, hey, teacher, professor, book, read, get a good mark, you're educated.
Right.
Okay. Or maybe education is about bettering yourself and understanding the world around you and understanding your history and who you are better. Moreover, maybe education isn't about what you learn in a book necessarily, but traveling, experiential learning, and not just a co-op, literally going out.
Yeah.
Experiencing something.
Yeah. Different spaces, different cultures, different country, different continent.
And see how the world exists. Because we might think, oh, you're an X year old. This is how everybody in the world exists.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, there's some people, if you hit 40, 45 and you're alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, education is shifting our understanding that it's not just what you learn in school.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's an important part. But then you've got to start understanding, okay, well, and like Freire talks about this, maybe what I learned in school is actually designed for me to conform and be included in particular systems that are designed to oppress me. Maybe that's why I'm being taught about kings and queens, not about Black revolutionaries. Because if I'm taught about Black revolutionaries in school, then maybe I'm going to challenge said system. So we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, old white man who did X, Y, Z, and just ignore Black history or histories of the oppressed. But then when I learn about histories of the oppressed, then I have more confidence in who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe when I travel and I see, hey, wait a second, my whole history as a Black person isn't just guns and gangs and hip hop.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the cradle of civilization.
It's not what the masses are telling me.
Thank you.
Yeah. About me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the key for me to education is to redefine what we think about education and what education is.
Yeah. And what it should be.
There you go.
Yeah. So what evidence should we be looking for to determine whether or not the education is actually working? And I think about the implicit bias trainings. I think about the workshops and it's interesting because I'm doing a lot of the same workshops over and over and over. And so when I think about education as it relates to this idea of transformation, what should we be actually looking for?
Look, we got to look outside of metrics of just what the university does. Okay, so our focus on competence and capacity building, education, training, whatever you want to call it, is focused on the metrics of this institution.
Yeah.
Right? Did more Black people come in? Cool. Did more Black people graduate? Cool.
Great.
Not denigrating that, which is important. But for me, it's this. And if folks have been following the news, so we're recording this at the end of 2025. So for the past few years, the disappearances of Black boys in the GTA is the highest. Like literally, like teenage boys just disappearing, right? These aren't just like we call it wayward, quote unquote, kids.
We're not talking about that though.
Thank you. So if these kids are disappearing, right? Maybe there's a problem with our education system that they're just disappearing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a problem with our policing system that's disappearing. Maybe there's something wrong with our justice system that is just disappearing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something wrong with our society that is just disappearing.
Yeah.
So then if we try to look at the systemic level, University of Waterloo pushes out graduates in all those spaces.
Yeah.
They become teachers, they become law enforcement, they become judges, whole shebang. They become social workers. We got a fantastic MSW program here. Maybe we're not doing something right, that these Black boys are disappearing and nobody can put the finger on what's the problem. So if I see, and look, Black people are 5%, I'm just using Black people now as, targeted universalism. If we fix the system for one particular group, it's gonna improve for everyone. if we figure out why these black boys are disappearing, maybe that's better than, technological advancements in AI. Maybe. Black people are 5% of the population. Why are black boys just in the greater Toronto area disappearing more than anybody else?
Yeah.
How is a black boy who's 16, 15, 16, 17 years old ending up from Brampton to Thunder Bay?
Ooh.
On a bus? It ain't no 25-year-old black man in
I was
Thunder
gonna say
Bay
that. We're talking
saying,
about 16-year-olds.
Exactly. So
Wow.
they're caught up in a larger system,
Yeah.
particularly around the drug trade.
Yeah.
Right? And it ain't black people pushing that.
Yeah.
It's somebody else.
Yeah.
So how come we're not having that conversation? How come those aren't questions that we're asking in this institution?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, the better metrics is say, yes, we need to look beyond the amount of funding dollars we get, the amount of research, which is great. I'm not knocking that.
Who's we? The office
The institution.
or the, okay.
The
Yeah.
institution.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be like, how are our communities doing better? We're in Kitchener-Waterloo, has some of the highest hate crime rates in Canada. Maybe we, as an anchor institution, maybe our office should be judged on that and how we're improving hate crime. Because ultimately, unless you live in this office,
Yeah.
you live in the community.
Yeah.
So you're facing those hate crimes where you live, where you exist, where all the people who work here live and exist.
Yeah.
So maybe that should be our focus. And again, I can't blame anybody of our staff. If there's some accountability for it, it's mine. Also though, it's how the university judges how well we're doing or not by our societal outcomes.
True. That's a scary thought, or a concerning thought, I should say.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about AI, right? What's it gonna do to climate?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is it gonna do to people's intellectual property?
Yeah.
What is it gonna do to essentially how people engage in day-to-day operations? Maybe we need to shift the measuring stick.
Yeah. You're so well versed, and to your point, we're living at a time where people are looking away. Some people, not all, but some people are looking away from EDI, right? And so when we think about equity, diversity, inclusion, anti-racism work on a whole, sometimes it's met with skepticism, right? How does the office on a whole stay anchored in both accountability, but as well as hope?
Look, step one, right? Step one.
Step one.
A lot of the flack and pushback we get, and I'm gonna say this as politely as I can,
Okay.
are people who know nothing about EDI and DEI, or anti-oppression, or anti-racist systemic racism.
100%.
And I joke about this all the time. You would never ever see me, Christopher Taylor, walk into a physics class, walking into an engineering class, and say, "Hey, you know what? I listened to a podcast about engineering and physics and black holes. I watched the Big Bang Theory,
Yes.
and then I rolled down to the Perimeter Institute and said, yeah, Dr. Matter, I got this,
Yeah.
because Sheldon said this."
Yeah.
That's what people do when it comes to EDI.
What gives them that right? Are we going back to the power thing?
100%.
Yeah.
Because I have a PhD, I know everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
That's why at this point now, I don't even engage. And what it is too, what people don't want to admit is that a lot of it comes from insecurity, right? The pushback on EDI and DEI, and we saw this, we hear about DEI hires, whole shebang, DEI becoming a slur. You can't say the N-word, but you can say a DEI hire,
That's interesting.
right? It's because black people and non-white people are now taking up space unapologetically. I know how people look at me when I come into these meetings. They're like, "Oh, what is this person doing?" They may not call me the N-word, but their eyes
100%.
are saying it.
Yeah.
And
They're
the
giving the
treatment of
same
me,
energy.
Same energy, the
Yeah.
same N-word energy.
Yeah.
I wish I could drop the N-word here, but I know I'm mindful. Come with that same naysayer energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, because they're looking at us, understanding that we can do the job better than them to a society that will benefit them as well, but also us. So it's like, we got to get rid of this DEI thing, because snap.
Okay.
People are actually reading the books
Yeah.
and uncovering that this is all fallacy. The power that I have isn't because I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
It's because literally.
Yeah.
It's because I was born a particular gender, or I chose a particular gender, right?
Yeah.
I was born in a particular country.
Yeah.
I was able to get a particular degree, and that's it. You ain't special. And that's what we're challenging. We're challenging the specialness of these folks, and they hate that. That's the issue with DEI. That's why they say, oh, let's do everything based on merit. I'm like,
Yeah.
have you seen the dropout and pushout rate, particularly for Black boys in school?
And but this is the thing. The research is there, right?
Yeah.
The school to prison pipeline, like it's
there. There's
it's
no
been
secret.
there.
It's
like
not.
it's not even.
Yeah.
Like it's been there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then, and that's the thing. If you can just flood the market with DEI is bad, it's not based on merit, whole shebang, people aren't going to read. Because, you hear the joke all the time, the best way to get up on a Black person is put something in a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when we start reading these books and say, oh, no. Let's cut these programs. Let's cut Black studies programs. Let's make critical race theory in the US illegal. So they're putting up all these mechanisms, knowing that the answers are there. And now we're starting to read it. They're like, you can't treat me like that.
Yeah.
Illegal. We're not going to teach it. We're not going to have, Black studies curricula in K to 12.
Yeah.
We're not going to teach about anti-oppression. We're not going to I'm like,
yeah.
Can't y'all not see what's going on here?
Yeah.
I ain't about that life.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you something that's controversial.
Oh boy. Wait, nothing else was controversial?
Now
we get to the comment.
Before we wrap up, I'm wondering, what would you say to the person who's like, you're very focused on Black studies, Black folks, Black related issues. What about somebody who comes along and says, well, what about everybody else? What would you say to them?
All lives matter? All lives matter?
All the other lives, yes. Yes.
All right. So here's my first AVP answer, because
Okay.
it's part of one of our core values, our
Yes.
core principles.
Got it.
Targeted universalism, right? If you focus on a particular group in a system that's faring the poorest, so for example, we look at the university system, that Black people are not entering the system, we're not retaining them, or particularly students, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
If you can move away from the whole concept that it's not intellectual ineptitude, that is something wrong with the system, whether it's the application system, whether it's a tenure and promotion system, whether it's a grading system, whether it's the engineering programming that's just literally killing students here. If we improve that, the outcomes for Black people will improve, but also the outcomes for everybody will improve.
Okay.
Check. So that's target universalism. So that's why I first come to them like, well, Black and Indigenous folks are faring the poorest.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus on those groups to improve the system for all. For example, we have the Sankofa Pathways to University, the transition year program. Say, hey, there's actually a problem with students coming from first year that we should have more A's and encouragement for them.
Right.
And we can model that across the board. Dope. Fantastic. My other answer is this, which is actually not controversial because I said it before. The reason I have a job, the reason why DEI came to be is because during the pandemic, when everybody had nothing else to do, they watched a Black man cry for his mother for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and was killed.
Yeah.
And people want to forget that.
Yeah.
And people want to forget because it's uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable to admit that this whole DEI, EDI thing came because people watched a Black person get murdered. And I said it then and I'll say it today. If that was a video of somebody strangling a puppy on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever, they would have taken it down. And that's the problem, which is here. The whole when we talk about anti-Black racism, it's this dehumanization of Black people. That you could sit there, and I've not watched this video to this day. You could sit there, literally watch a grown man crying and pleading for his mother.
I've not watched it either. No,
you can sit there and get that shared millions of times. You don't pause for a second and say, this ain't right.
Yeah.
This ain't right. And that's why I have a job. It started about confronting anti-Black in, May 2021 or 2020, sorry. It's all about confronting anti-Black racism. People got uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I actually talk about this called the Negro Apocalypse. Check out my book when it comes out. My next book, sorry. See how I look in the camera and do that?
I saw that.
We had to make these changes, all about confronting anti-Black racism. Then folks got uncomfortable with it. They said, oh, BIPOC, you know, Black, Indigenous people of color. Because we can't talk about Black people no more because Black people are getting too uppity. The Negroes are getting too uppity, so let's just include everybody. And then it was shifted from BIPOC to, well, you know, Black lives matter, maybe all lives matter.
Right.
And then it became, maybe that's a little too much.
Yeah.
DEI, EDI.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, wait a minute. It still has the same outcome and purpose to support Black people. Now we need to get rid of that. 4 years. Because folks gotta remember, we weren't hiring everybody in 2020. It was 2021.
Yeah.
That people just pat, 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 pat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that controversial or is it the truth?
No, it's the truth. And those are the hard facts. And I'm glad that you're reiterating some of them over and over again. So hopefully it seeps in.
Yeah, it won't.
We're still 4 years later
at
this institution confronting anti-Black racism.
Yeah, look, people have been doing, look, let me tell you something right now, right? People have been doing this 2025. Remember Trayvon Martin? People were doing this 2015, 2012.
Yeah.
Remember Rodney King? People would do it 92.
I was going to say that. I'm
Young
like, it
Street
just
Riot,
keeps
people
going.
did
Yeah.
92.
Yeah.
You know, Canadian context, Canadian universities, the Sir Joe Williams Affair, 1969.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, you had the Pan-African Congress in, 1909, early 1900s.
Yeah.
Right? You had the Buster Rebellion in Barbados in 1816. Right?
Yeah.
Keep on going back and back and back.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. And my whole thing is, if you want to use a starting point in the West of Black Revolution, and we look at the Haitian Revolution, we're looking at the period, because, you know, really starting looking at the formations, late 1780s, early 1790s and forward. So we have 200, my math is 240 years of lessons. If we use that as our starting point and look at all the revolutions in that particular period, and say what worked and what didn't work.
Right.
And how come we just kept on going this cycle? If you want to come back to education coming full circle, it's because we're not teaching these kids that. So when you're a first year in 2021, and you ask me, how do you start a revolution?
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
You know, your parents went through this.
Yeah.
Well, I guess their parents now would have been in high school, university, late 1990s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
They've done all this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're not teaching them, and that's a function of white supremacy. If you don't teach them, they have to start from the beginning. But if you can piggyback,
well, that's good,
and scaffold on what people have
on that
done,
knowledge. Yeah.
You build on that knowledge.
Yeah.
It makes me look like a visionary when in reality I just read stuff.
I'm
just reading.
Yes.
Seriously, I'm reading, connecting dots.
Yeah.
The difference is I'm putting it into context of the reality that I live in right now.
Yeah.
I'm also coming with a lot of introspection and empathy. I'm glad you used that term before, that not everybody should or wants to be on that same tip. And I can't force people into that model. If I try to force people into that model, it ain't gonna work. So I need to be honest with myself. Jordans ain't cheap.
Yeah.
So we're coming full circle. Jordans ain't cheap.
Yeah.
This is a function of capitalism.
Yeah.
It's literally a function. Keep on looking at my shoes. This is literally a function of capitalism.
Yeah.
I can't say fundamentally that I'm going to withdraw from the system and then go kick it on, one of them secret shoe sites online.
Yeah.
And pay $400 or $500 a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
That's not being honest. That's being hypocritical. So I need to pause and say, am I willing to really make that change? Am I fundamentally really ready to make that change? Or am I going to make changes on the margins? Am I going to cut off the crust on the toast? Or am I going to start eating ackee and saltfish? I should say flying fish and cuckoo and flying fish, because I'm not Jamaican. But so.
Yeah, because that just had me
I know,
delish.
Yeah, y'all Jamaicans, it's okay.
Everybody has a role to play, is what I'm gathering.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. And every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Essentially, it helps move the needle forward. So what, because you've done a lot of incredible work here at the institution, and I have been privileged to participate in some of the work that you've been championing. What quote, what idea, what do you hold on to that keeps you in the game?
I'll never forget when I was working in government, and this is when I was working the anti-racism director as a senior policy advisor. And this is a time where, creating they call it the anti-Black racism strategy, but
Yep.
ABR, but it's confronting anti-Black racism strategy.
Okay.
And one of our directors pulled us in the room and he asked this question. He said, what kind of world do you want your kids to be living in? All right, because usually we talk about what my harms, my trauma. It's like, what kind of world do you want your kids to be living in? And for me, that shapes how I engage in this work. I'm cooked. Like, with all due respect to a lot of the work we do, if we're talking to profs and people who are in their 40s, 50s, about to retire, they're cooked.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of respect for teachers and educators in the K-12 system, because those are minds you can still shape.
Yeah.
Like we're.
Yeah.
So what motivates me is, how can we have that trickle down effect, support communities, that people who are in the system, we're supporting them, but also how can we now looking at that 10-year-old white boy who would eventually become a CEO, and you just drop a little nugget there.
Yeah.
That when he's 40, and I'm using gender terms here for a reason.
Yeah.
When he's 40, when he's like, I'm all about EDI, DEI, but in reality, I'm a white moderate. I'm trying to hold the system. But he pauses for a second and says, wait, maybe the system's a problem. Maybe he's going to be the John Brown and say, you know what? This whole white supremacy thing don't make no sense.
Yeah.
And this is going on a bit of a tangent here, but you're going to tie it back. When I speak to white folks, right? When we talk about the nuggets and things I want to
Yeah, because I'm thinking about them.
When I speak to white folks,
right.
I always, and then in a historical space, and that's when we know the historian caps, I explain to them about the myth of white supremacy, right? White supremacy is a myth. If we look at the period of enslavement, the vast majority of white people did not own in Black people because it costs money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's literally a handful of, we talk about the 1%ers?
Yeah.
A few years ago.
It's
probably
them.
Literally, the 99%, white, Black, brown, purple, we're being exploited by the 1%. Okay. The same thing during enslavement. So I talked about white people. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm here challenging white supremacy. I might be using Black people as an example, or indigenous folks as an example, but I'm challenging white supremacy, because this white supremacy is actually the reason why the suicide rates for middle-aged white men is the highest, right? Why white men, maybe not disproportionately, but white, again, using gendered language for a purpose, need mental health supports, aren't getting them. Movember, you think Movember is for Black people? How many Black people growing up mustaches?
I cannot.
I'm for real though, like
yeah,
health,
it's true. It's true though.
All these things, again, might be disproportionately impacting Black folks, indigenous folks, non-white bodies. But because white people believe that they could be the next X person who's at the top, the pinnacle, they're gonna uphold this system. And that was born during enslavement. Why? If you look at Bacon's Rebellion, without getting too much into it, you had a revolt. White people and Black people were trying to push forward against the ruling elite.
Okay.
And you know what the ruling elite did? They had to create this myth of white supremacy. They called it the mudsill theory. That no matter how low you are as a white person, you are still higher than the highest Black person. So they need the elite, the 1%ers, had to create this mythology in order that the Black and the brown, the proletariat, the subalterns, they couldn't unite. Because if they united, what was gonna happen? This is why they killed Dr. King. They didn't kill Dr. King because Dr. King said, hold hands with white boys and little white Black girls. They didn't kill him. They killed him because he had this class consciousness, that he had the ability to recognize that capitalism. He started the poor people's movement, that this is a poor people's movement. This is a a lower class, a working class movement. You look at labor movement, all these had these class bonding beyond race.
Yeah.
But if you understand that, what's going to happen? Imagine if every single student at the University of Waterloo woke up and said, you know, this tuition thing is effed up.
Yeah.
And stop paying tuition.
Yeah. It's a threat to the status quo.
So what do you need to do? You need to say, hey, you're brilliant. You got 99%. You're brilliant, not because of your race. You're brilliant.
Yeah.
That kid that got 84, not as smart. Oh, that kid that got 84 happened to be black? Nah.
Yeah.
What's the big deal? So for me, the nugget is telling people the truth. Because once you tell people the truth, they're going to realize this is way beyond diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is about power and dominance.
Yeah.
And there's an illusion that you're a part of the elite when you're not. And that's why I come back to the myth of white supremacy. I come back to the Occupy Wall Street. You never hear about that no more, right?
No.
You don't hear a word about Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing since sliced bread. Silence. Because that was recognizing. You know, GameStop, I think GameStop was the right thing, how they flipped the whole trading on its head. You make the rich poor.
Yeah.
You can flip it. If you understand the system, you can change it. So teach kids the system. If I teach them the system and they decide to benefit from it, cool.
Yeah.
Well, not cool, but fine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I understand, yeah.
But if they decide to uproot it, go for it. I'll teach you the system. It's your decision.
I could sit and listen to you all day.
Oh, don't say that, because I'll talk. I will talk
All
Let
day.
me tell you,
No, this is really good.
Yeah.
I think bottom line, legacy is what's important to you.
Not really.
When I say legacy, and maybe it's a different terminology, you made the reference of like, how am I impacting that 10-year-old? How am I impacting the younger?
Yeah.
How am I impacting the folks who are coming up, right? We were talking a lot about disrupting the system. It starts with dropping a nugget.
Yeah.
And then hopefully over time, as folks are dropping nuggets, that people are building, I guess, competency, they're building understanding, they're building, right?
Yeah.
And the hope is that over time, the system changes.
I'm a gas.
Continues to change.
I'm gonna gas you up for a second, right?
Okay.
You have more influence than me. And I'll explain why. I sit at certain tables with certain people who are baked into their ideas, right? You do workshops and competency capacity building with plant ops, with everybody.
Yeah.
You have these conversations with quote unquote regular degulars, as I call them.
Yeah.
The people
Pliable minds. Yeah.
The people who are being exploited by the people that the tables that I sit on, whether the metaphorical tables or physical tables. So you go and tell somebody in plant ops, hey, you know, this is how the system's exploiting you. This ain't a white and black thing. So you have that conversation with them. They have that conversation with their colleagues.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
They go home to Breslau or New Hamburg or wherever, because we know KW is, like I said, has highest hate crimes, rising hate crimes in the country. They're having those conversations with their neighbors. Hey, yo, man, you know, this person came in. They're not even gonna say black woman. They said this person had a workshop with me and told me about how I am being exploited. This ain't right. Not Christopher Taylor.
Yeah.
Monique.
Yeah.
Imagine how that can snowball now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's not a legacy. For me, it's how do I unfortunately position Black death? I'm always gonna come back to that. To put people who are brilliant, like yourself, who have brilliant minds, who literally just needed an opportunity to spread the word. That's my legacy, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But reality, man, I could leave tomorrow and I'm good.
Yeah.
I got my plan. I told y'all, I got my plan.
But you've been doing what you're saying. You've been doing that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody that comes into your presence that sits down and has a conversation with you that does not walk away and go, that's something for me to chew on.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm keeping it real though, like what have I actually done? Like if I'm being, without this now becoming like
What's your measurement?
a confessional,
Okay.
right? But we still have cases of discrimination, racism coming through our office like it's nobody's business. You're still getting a gazillion requests for workshops and competency capacity building. They're still firing Black people, non-white people left, right, and center. There's still no collective unity around the quote unquote UW proletariat. It doesn't exist, right? Yes, have I done a lot of checkbox exercises? Cool. Like, do I look favorable and palatable to a lot of folks now, even with the Jordans and jeans and hoodies? Yeah, but at its core, have I really supported food insecurity in kids in Kitchener? You know what I mean? Like, have I really made any shifts, like if we're changing metrics with the justice system, the youth justice system?
Yeah.
Right? Have I made the rents here cheaper in Kitchener Waterloo? They've exploded since I've been AVP, right?
Yeah.
Like, what have I really, like, honestly done to make systemic changes?
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's where I need to pause and say, hey, I'm doing, people say I'm doing a lot for the institution, but based on my own metrics.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have I really done?
Yeah. And I think that's a question that we all can walk away from this conversation asking, what impact has my work actually had, right? Even when I think that's part of like doing our work in an anti-oppressive way is taking a step back, pausing and reflecting.
Yep.
Am I being effective? Is my intentions lining up with the impact, right, that I was hoping for?
And I think that comes down to having that introspective honesty. Because if I'm gonna sit here and be like, yeah, I'm the greatest EDI and anti-racism AVP in the world. Come on, bro. Like, have I done some good stuff? Cool. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do I have a sphere of influence? Yes. Like,
Yes,
I
you do.
will not dismiss that. Have I hopefully impacted the lives of folks here at Waterloo on the team? I hope so. But I just can't sit back and say, fait accompli. You know what I mean? Like, based on my own personal, professional, historical, or ancestral measuring stick. I can't do that. But at the same time, I'm not going to have a fatalist view of my job or this office. I'm going to see my sphere of influence. I'm going to see the sphere of influence of my staff, people like yourself, and how do we just keep on playing that 5D chess?
Yeah.
Like, how can we just keep putting people in the right spot?
Yeah. I know that you're in this season of reflecting and contemplation, but I want to know, our folks want to know, what can people expect from the office in the future?
Hey.
One thing.
One thing?
Yeah.
We won't stop.
Ooh, come on.
We won't stop.
Yeah.
We have the ability, we have the capacity, and we have the drive to keep on going. Can't stop us.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Monique. Appreciate it. Thank you.